Gold, silver and platinum have been with us throughout history as a testament to wealth preservation, but there's a new player on the block, cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin. Will they replace gold and silver one day? Only time will tell, and in today's video I want to present some of my thoughts on why I still think there is a place for gold, silver and platinum in this evolving future of digital currencies that we now live in. Hello everybody, Backyard Bullion here, and a very warm welcome to you all joining me for this week's Precious Metal Ramblings, which is going to be about the role of gold, silver and platinum, any precious metal to be honest, in a digital future, in a cryptocurrency future. Some might argue that we're there right now, that there's this tipping point, this turning point now, that cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin in particular will become, or has become, the new gold, the new precious metal. It's termed the millennials gold. And in today's video I want to talk a little bit about why I still feel there's going to be a definite role for gold and silver, and to a certain extent platinum, and maybe even copper in the future. Cryptocurrencies are great, and you would be ignorant not to understand that they do have a role to play going forwards, which has changed. And certainly my opinion has changed over this last 5-6 years. And I remember when I started stacking gold and silver, cryptocurrencies were just this kind of geeky thing that perhaps some people had, and there was, you know, news stories about people buying a pizza with like 40 bitcoins or something, and it was a little bit like, nah, okay, fine. But gold and silver was still, of course, the thing to have. Now, of course, we see Bitcoin in astronomical heights, and it is certainly not something to ignore. Now, I am, of course, a stacker of gold and silver. I am going to be somewhat biased in that way. I do not have any cryptocurrencies at the moment, and I don't plan on getting any in the near future either, but I do recognize that there is a role for cryptocurrencies to play in the future. But I will always have skepticism around cryptocurrencies, I feel, because they're not real. It's one of the things I love about silver, about gold, about owning this stuff, is that it is real, it is physical, it is something that has value, and the wondrous nature of these metals throughout history has proved that they will always have a place. They will always have a value, whether that is in the form of coins and currency, which, granted, is very much not the norm right now. Of course, we do have coins, you know, modern eagles and proof coins and things like that. Mints are still around. Mints are still creating silver and gold coins, but they're not currency. They're not in circulation. But of course, silver, primarily over gold and platinum, has a humongous industrial use to it, and that is something which I cannot see falling out of favor relative to cryptocurrencies going forward into the future. So there's a whole host of different things to consider. Now, there's the question here of when in the future are we talking about, because for me, in my mind, I cannot necessarily see a complete running away from precious metals and gold in my lifetime, or even, you know, 2 or 3 lifetimes time or more, because the governments around the world are still hoarding this stuff. They still have gold in their vaults. You know, you just got to look at China and Russia and their amount of gold and silver that they're buying and having and holding and storing to really understand that this stuff is important. I always quote this phrase, but it is a really good one, and if you've not seen Yankee Stacking's channel, you really have to go and watch what he has to say on a lot of these matters. But gold is the means by which countries settle debts, and silver is the means by which us common folk settle debts. I don't think he quite put it like that, but the simple man uses silver, countries use gold. It is the thing that keeps the world going round at the moment, and there is no doubt in my mind that there will be a place for gold going forward as this inflationary hedge, as this item by which you can hold your wealth realistically, hold it, feel it, sorry, I should say, not reel it, feel it, see it and touch it. It's there. It's not going to disappear at the push of a button. That's the one thing that I am always going to have in my mind about cryptocurrencies, that it is just numbers on a screen. And one of the reasons why we buy gold and silver in the first place is to avoid the numbers on a screen scenario. You know, we have money in our bank account, and these days that's not actual physical money that's in the bank that you can go along and see. You don't have a lockbox with cash in it that is your account. It is just numbers on a screen. And one of the things that I am always worried about, in this, certainly in this world right now, with the humongous amounts of money that's being printed to cope with the coronavirus fallout, is that deflation will happen. Currencies will just devalue over time. They will inflate away to nothing, and those numbers on a screen will look fantastic. But then when you realize that it costs $1,000 to buy a loaf of bread, you're in trouble. Of course, if those inflationary numbers happen, the precious metals will still be there. And to a certain extent, I suppose the cryptocurrencies will be there, because they are completely unlinked to the world of real money, I suppose, the fiat currencies. Yes, they're priced in dollars, but ultimately it's a monetary system within its own right that is separate to the US dollar, to the pound, to the euro. It is a means by which people can trade, and you don't necessarily say, I'm going to buy $5,000 worth of Bitcoin. You say, I'm buying 0.003 Bitcoin, or however much it would work out to. You see, there is a huge difference there in that mindset, and that is one thing that I do like about silver and gold and cryptos to an extent. It preserves you against that potential of numbers on your bank account meaning nothing at the end, or if they inflate away to nothing. So that's definitely something for me that I've always worried about, more so I'd say over this last couple of years, well, this last year to be more precise. You just got to look at the kind of economic fallout and think, gosh, we are going to be in the pickle for a long time, if we're being brutally honest. 10-15 year fallout, it would be a good outcome, I think, in terms of economic fallout for what we're seeing at the moment. So lots of things in gold and silver's favor, or at least in finding a preservation of wealth type item. Now, one thing that is against gold and silver, and I know that's going to sound strange for a lot of you out there, perhaps who are diehard silver and gold lovers, that will say, well, there's nothing wrong with silver and gold. It is the perfect preservation of wealth tool. So there was a problem that I experienced with gold and silver at the outset of the coronavirus lockdown pandemics. If there is a situation where governments, where the mandate comes down that businesses cannot open, businesses cannot run, then your gold and silver buyers, your bullion dealers, they're not going to be open. And we did experience that to some degree earlier last year. I remember having, I don't have the exact coin with me, but I had a Krugerrand that I bought from a well-known dealer. I won't name them because it's not really fair, I think, to negatively put some connotations on them. But, there was a big dealer that I bought a Krugerrand from, and it was basically on hold because of the unknown situations at that time. I bought it basically in the week that lockdown started, and it's in the UK we have this sort of semi-lockdown where the government came out and said, oh, it would be wonderful if you could stay at home, just to try and reduce the numbers. And then after about 5 days, it was clearly obvious that nobody was actually staying home, so they actively then hit the lockdown button. So I bought it in that week, kind of foreseeing that the brown stuff really was going to hit the fan. But because the government essentially said all businesses need to close down their premises and no staff can go to work, that Krugerrand was basically trapped in this vault, and this company stopped their buybacks. So I bought this Krugerrand, I did not have it physically, and it was stuck in their vaults. And yeah, I have absolute confidence that I would always get my money back, or at least I'd get my gold coin at some point. But my point was, I was out an ounce of gold's worth of fiat currency that I could not cash in, that I could not get physically. And that was a little bit like of an eye-opener to say, do you know what, in that real brown stuff hit the fan scenario, are you actively going to be able to go down to the shops and buy stuff with your silver and gold? The answer's most likely not in this world. If there really is a complete mudstorm, I'm saying different words to the S word to keep this monetarily friendly, but my point is, if there's an absolute mudstorm and you've got platinum, for example, the chances of you being able to go and cash this in is absolutely minuscule. You are really dependent on finding other people to sell it to, whether that's digitally or in physical person. And if you don't have access to those kind of routes, you are up that brown creek without a potential paddle, which is, of course, something that we don't all want to experience. So, from that perspective, you've got to look at the kind of crypto side of things in that same scenario. And the crypto world was very much not, cataclysmically affected by that, because it's all online. Of course, in the lockdowns, the whole of our life went online. Zoom calls happened. Family catch-ups were now put online, and how we work was put online, how we play was put online. It's just incredible how much we are now dependent on this digital world, and cryptocurrencies most certainly were there still as that preservation of wealth tool. And of course, you've only got to look at what happened in that week of lockdowns hitting around the world, of what happened to silver prices. They plummeted. They absolutely plummeted. Now there's of course arguments now on the converse that they've gone up back to where they really should be, if not waiting to go even further. But still, cryptocurrencies at that time were your go-to in terms of flexibility, in my opinion. I didn't go there myself, but that was my observation. Now, into the future, though, that's the kind of thing that I am, of course, worried about. How far into the future are we going to look for when cryptocurrencies or a digital asset will completely replace the physical world? And that's going to come down, I suppose, in certain ways to the industrial demand for the metals. Now, we are seeing at the moment that silver is holding very strong as an industrial metal. Significant amounts of this stuff is used every year for industry. And it is, I think, only going to continue. You've got just to look at the practical applications of silver as an industrial metal to understand that it is not going to disappear anytime soon. It is in demand. Solar energy, renewable energies will use it constantly. But there are case studies to have and to say that other metals which were heavily relied upon as industrial metals could fall out of favour. You've only got to look at platinum to say, well, at one point platinum was this mega industrial metal used in the automotive industry, within diesel cars, within catalytic converters, and then shift in attitudes towards diesel has completely decimated the platinum price. Now, there is an argument to be had right now that platinum is on the rise again. Maybe new applications are being found for its use within different automotive industries, within different industries completely separate to automotive. Palladium, which kind of replaced platinum as that go-to metal, became so expensive that perhaps platinum is more attractive again. Could the same happen to silver? Could the same happen to silver? There's definitely an argument to be had that if silver hits $100 an ounce, $1,000 an ounce, as a lot of people wish and pray and hope that it might, that industry will be crippled. You know, we're talking about big industry here, not just cell phone manufacturers. Of course, in a cell phone, there's going to be minute amounts of silver and gold, and if you get to $1,000 an ounce, you know, it's not going to make too much difference in terms of unit prices for these mobile phones. But the amount of silver and gold that's bought by these companies globally is bonkers. You know, you're looking at millions of ounces of silver, billions of dollars worth. And if, of course, the silver prices go up considerably, perhaps there'll be another metal. Perhaps copper is the one that will replace everything in the future as an industrial metal. It's seen some big growth over this last year for sure. Before anybody asks in this video, this is not a copper bar that I've poured, this is a copper bar that I bought. I just wanted to have a copper lump, a big giant poured copper lump, because I think there's something so mesmerizing and beautiful about copper. I love the color, I love the feel of it. It is ultimately a really important industrial metal in its own right, very conductive, used in wiring almost exclusively in the industry. Really, really good metal and really interesting, and of course seen some big price increases over this last year. I think at last look, it's been a while since I looked, a couple of weeks or more, but you know, 100% growth on copper prices in this last year, which is something not to be sniffed at by any stretch. But of course, the downside is this copper bar here is worth currently about £10 at best, if that, maybe a bit less, when you compare that to this silver bar worth £600, £700, or these gold coins worth, you know, well, gosh, they're both 1.2 ounces, so you're looking at £1,500, £1,600 a pop. So, you know, significant difference in values there. So going back to my original question, will gold and silver be replaced by cryptocurrencies going forward into the future? Probably, if we're being brutally honest. Yeah, I think maybe at one point in our civilization's future, there won't necessarily be a need for the physical. We might have run out of industrial uses for silver, or we might have synthesized a brand new metal that will be more suitable, or we might discover a new metal. It might be a meteorite that comes down with a huge amount of, what was it? Oh, the Marvel series one, I can't remember now, it begins with a V. Vibranium, that's the one. There might be a meteorite that comes down with vibranium or something that replaces the world's use of precious metals. Who knows? We just don't know. So the nuts and bolts of this is that it is worth most certainly considering cryptocurrencies as a preservation of wealth tool. But for me, for my outlook, for my mentality when it comes to this stuff, when it comes to the use of precious metals in our modern world right now, in my lifetime, in my future generations' lifetimes, I can't see this stuff not being relevant, not being used, not being useful, not being applicable to modern life. It's just not on the horizon for me. But I will concede that there is a place for cryptocurrencies, and that place might evolve. It might run alongside gold and silver. It might partially replace it, but we shall wait and see. Love to know your thoughts down in the comment section, so please feel free to share what you think about this rambling of the future of precious metals. Where do you see things going? I'd love to know your target predictions for silver and gold in, say, 10 years' time. It'd be really interesting to know a lot of your opinions. And if you've enjoyed this video and presentation, then please do share it around on your social media. It would be very helpful. And hit that thumbs up button here on YouTube. Tell YouTube that you like the video. And if you have liked this video and you're not subscribed to my channel, there's a good chance that you'll like videos that we make in the future. So make sure you hit that subscribe button as well. Otherwise, that is it from me today. A big thank you to you all for watching. Have a fantastic week ahead. And as always, please make sure that you like, share, comment, and subscribe for more.